For this week's Smith Business Close-Up, we're on location here at the University of Maryland. Our guest is Hank Lucas, who is the Smith Chair Professor of Information Systems and Chair of the Department of Decision Operations and Information Technologies at the Robert H. Smith School of Business. Hank, good to see you again.
Nice to see you again, Jeff.
Our topic is the disruption of higher education, which is something that you're participating in.
Exactly. I'm helping it along.
Good. So what do we mean by that? What's being disrupted?
Well, we have a lot of new formats and approaches to teaching. I like to call them technology-enhanced approaches to teaching and learning. And so that involves things like flipping classes, blended classes, online programs, and MOOCs.
MOOCs are massive open online courses?
Right. Yes.
And you have taught one of those.
I taught one of those.
What was the experience?
Better than I thought. When I began developing the MOOC, I said, this is something I want to understand and get into because I see some potential here. And I had a MOOC seminar. I had about 16,000 students sign up for it. About 8,000 showed up, about 2,000 finished, which is pretty typical because with a MOOC, you take what you'd like and then you stop, okay? And so some people finished it, some people didn't. The thing that was impressive to me was how eager and engaged the students were. The online discussion boards were full. I would release the week's videos on Sunday morning at midnight, and by that afternoon, the discussion boards had started to fill up. People had watched the whole week's worth of things on Sunday. And I had students from 150 countries.
Wow. So we talk about that being disruptive because it breaks down the barriers that are inherent in normal education. You have limits. You can only have so many kids in a classroom, in a discussion, even in a lecture hall, and you're talking about thousands. Where's it headed?
Well, we see some examples of what's happening. One, Georgia Tech has started an MS in computer science that is based on MOOCs. They had a little support from AT&T to do this. The tuition is $6,600 for a master's degree. On campus, you're $45,000.
So they're competing against themselves.
And against everybody else who offers an MS in computer science. Us, Stanford, MIT, all the schools. Excuse me. University of Illinois has what is called as IMBA, which is taught partially with MOOCs and partially with traditional methods for $20,000. So if you look at the MBA space, there aren't many MBAs at $20,000.
Is the future of this a hybrid?
I think so. I think you'll use a MOOC the way you might have used a textbook in the old days. So you might take parts of a MOOC. The second time I did my MOOC, I built a course around it for credit. Everybody who signed up for the course completed the course. So when you're taking the course for credit, people are going to stay in it.
You wrote a book about this. It's called Technology and the Disruption of Higher Education, Saving the American University. What was the idea for the book?
The idea came from the fact that there's, I think, a lot of misunderstanding about what these things are, the blended courses, the flipped courses, the online. And there's a whole spectrum of online. There's very programmed where you never see an instructor, all the way over to something that's highly interactive. So in the Smith online MBA program, we do synchronous classes with the students using a product that puts everybody in a window on the computer so it replicates the physical classroom setting. So I wanted people to understand that it's not binary. It's not online is this way or that way. There are variations in how you can teach online. And then I also wanted to get across some of my ideas as an observer of higher ed for a long time as to what we need to do in addition to adopting the technology to reform ourselves, because we're criticized a lot for tuition levels, for graduation rates, for many of the problems that everybody knows about with higher ed. Technology is going to help with that. It's also going to create a whole new set of issues that we have to deal with, like different kinds of instruction, competing programs, and so on.
Just as an infrequent observer of this, it kind of feels like the amount of buzz surrounding MOOCs and online education has maybe declined a bit. Do you sense that at all?
It may have in the public sphere because there were lots of articles about them when they first came out, but they're doing quite well. I mean, Coursera, which is our partner at the University of Maryland, has many, many courses, lots of what they call learners involved, and they're working on specializations of courses in a particular topic area that students can take a specialization in. I think they're banking on us using it in colleges, but also companies using them to help employees improve their skills in the workplace.
Lastly, what do the students think?
It's interesting. Some students take to it right away. I think our group of what I'll call digital natives that are growing up now and getting some blended and flipped classes in high school. In college, we've had students who we think are learning more, but they like it less because they have to do more work.
Professor Hank Lucas joining us here at the Smith School of Business. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jeff. Nice to see you again.